Well, it is dumb late. I wouldn't say dumb late. Let me see. It's like, I'm gonna say it's probably close to 10 o'clock. I can't pull the thingy down on my phone to see. I picked up some stuff at the shop. Got a bunch of tools, like measuring stuff there. And so I think what I'm going to do is, first I'm gonna go inside, see if I can find something to eat real quick, because I ate a little something earlier and that just wasn't enough. Yeah, even though it's late, I'm gonna get back to work on this thing. Went over to the shop, picked up those things, and while I was there, I was helping my boy out with some stuff on his project. So that's what I'm gonna do. Go inside, grab something to eat, and we're gonna continue on this thing. And what we're gonna do is we are going to basically start ripping the head off again. So we'll see how we go about that. I'm gonna drain the radiator and just remove the radiator and everything this time. Take the headers off, start disconnecting everything from the manifold, take the strut bar off again, and basically just redo everything that we undid last time. Luckily, the power steering and the mount is already off and out of the way. I'm gonna undo the tensioner, and well, I don't need to explain this to you guys again. I've already explained it I don't know how many times. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start taking the head off, and then I don't think I'm gonna drain the oil and go into the bottom of the motor just yet, because since we're gonna swap rings, I gotta get under. Well, you guys have seen it with the last video. Get under, take off the oil pan, the pickup, all that stuff, the baffle, and then I can gain access to the crankshaft and push the pistons out of the top. But yeah, so after I go inside and grab on something real quick, I'm gonna come out here and start fidgeting with this thing, and we'll see how far I get. I'll probably try to push myself to work till like midnight or something and go from there. All right, well, I think this is where I'm gonna call it. So the radiator is about done being drained out right now. I pretty much did everything. I left the rockers in place because I like to keep those in order. That way I don't have to readjust the rocker nuts. So tomorrow I'll find me a box somewhere around here and take the rocker nuts and pull them out so I can keep them in order, just like I did last time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All the bolts on the headers are off except for these two. These two don't come off unless the header comes completely off. So with the radiator being drained, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect this hose here, disconnect the other hose at the bottom, unplug the fans, slide the whole thing out, and I'll probably set it down over there until everything gets figured out. And then that'll give me enough room to pull these headers off these studs, because I'm gonna have to climb under there tomorrow, undo the header from the flange in the back over there, and then take the whole header out, because I need to remove that so I can gain access to the oil pan. And yeah, so it should be pretty simple. There's only a few more things. I disconnected the whole harness except for the injectors right there. Let's just go ahead and disconnect those while I'm talking to you guys. Oh, actually, well, look at that, they're disconnected. So the only thing I gotta do then is just undo the 10 nuts that go there that hold that harness in place, and then I can slide that over, take off this return, take off the brake booster hose, and there's one more line that goes from the IAC to the block, and one more heater hose over on that side, and that's it. Then I can crack off the head bolts, head comes off. So I'm not too worried about that. And yeah, and then once I get under there, then I can take the whole bottom end apart like you guys saw in the last video, and push the pistons upwards out of the block, assess everything, hone the cylinder and everything, and well, we'll get to that when I get to the rest of it. All right, so I figured I'd give you guys a quick view of what I saw last time I took the head off. So as you can see, this whole engine was rebuilt, right? So one of the first things that I looked at, that thing needs help. One of the first things that I looked at when I took the head off was the valve seals. And I'm like, well, looks like everything's rebuilt. What's the condition of the valve seals? So, man, that is so hard to see. Let me see if I can get the light on. There we go. So with the light on, you can see those valve seals are brand new. And then if you look on the intake side, hard to see. See if I can look on the other side. But regardless, they're brand new nonetheless. We can see that one. It's kind of hard to see because those are blue. But all the valve seals are brand new on this thing. So yeah, the only thing left, like I said, is the piston rings. And even though it holds compression, you have the compression rings and you have the oil rings. In this case, what my educated guess, I guess you could say, is that the cylinders have washout. And I'll show you when I take the head off what I mean by cylinder washout. So basically what happens is, because this head gasket was blown, there was water going into the cylinders. That water that went into the cylinders, plus the added friction of the pistons going up and down in the cylinders, you create kind of a polishing effect that ends up kind of polishing out or washing out the oh my god, the cross hatches that are in the cylinders that are supposed to help the piston rings seal. That's why whenever you have a new motor, you always hear the term, you have to break in the motor because the piston rings need to seat. So in other words, the piston rings need to grind that coating on the edge to become flat with the new surface that you make on the cylinders with the home. So what happens is, because of the fact that there's no crosshatch on there, the oil rings can't seal, therefore they let a little bit of blow by into the cylinders. And then that's why you see all this oil coming out of the exhaust ports there. Talk about deja vu. I'm not looking forward to doing these studs again. Alright, head studs are out. Came off much easier than the last time. Now I just gotta sit here and heave and pull this thing off of here, set it on that piece of cardboard over there, and we can take a look at these cylinder walls. That wasn't too bad. It's much easier when you don't have ARP head studs in place. But okay. So if you'll notice, you can take a look at these cylinder walls and you see they've got like a really reflective finish. You don't see any like cross hatches at all. No cross hatches at all. I'm trying to take a really deep look. I mean, I can kind of see some, but like barely. But look at cylinder 4. Cylinder 1 was one of the ones getting some oil in it. Cylinder 3 was the one that was really bad. I should try to spin the motor, see what cylinder 3's look. Wipe down here. Yeah, so cylinder 3 was the one that was like super full. And it's kind of hard to see, but if you'll notice, like down near the bottom of the cylinder there's some like staining. Some like brown staining. And you can see a few of the lines of the rings going up and down here. Same thing with cylinder 2 here. You can see a few lines there, and you can see a little staining there, but this one wasn't one of the ones that was, this one was staying really dry. So yeah, cylinder 3 has no cross hatching like whatsoever. Super mirror finish. Now what I'm wondering is, I did this test last time, but I didn't do it too extensively. It just felt like it was good to me. I'm gonna try to spin them, and I'm gonna try to see if I can move the piston at all in the cylinder. But usually when you do that, when you do the test of like moving the pistons back and forth, if they rock back and forth in the cylinder, that usually means the integrity of the compression rings is gone. But we have good compression, so I'm assuming that's not gonna be the case. And last time I could have swore when I did this, they didn't move. Yeah, so if you notice, they move a hair, but that's normal. I mean, the rings have to have some type of give. But in this case, they don't move like they have bad compression rings. Oh boy. But all right, so now I gotta get into the bottom. I gotta take off the baffle, the pickup, and the rest of all that stuff, and then start sliding these pistons out. This is a quick way just to kind of test to see if you have any kind of leaks anywhere. I filled these up with water. And you can see there's no bubbles or anything coming out from anywhere. It's holding the water. So that's how you verify to make sure that your valves are sealed and sealed good. These do have quite a bit of carbon buildup on them, but other than that, they're sealing fine. And for a motor of this caliber with stock power, it's not an issue. So, you know, for a fact, we're good there. All right, so I'm gonna record this now because I didn't notice it earlier when I took the oil pan off. If I see it when I took the oil pan off, well, actually, no, I don't think I was filming when I took the oil pan off, but yeah, I noticed that that bolt on that pickup is broken. And that's not good because that's where the pickup seals. I don't know if it's creating a good seal or not, but I would think if there's a leak there, it wouldn't be getting oil distributed properly. It would probably still be okay, probably still be acceptable, but it's probably not the proper pressure regardless of the fact. But like I said, because it is a stock motor, it probably doesn't hurt that much. But now I gotta sit here and extract that and put a new bolt in it. Oh, my phone is gonna be so oily after this. But so yeah, we got all that loosened up. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick my extension right here. And we're just gonna go ahead and slowly slide these pistons upwards. Okay. Same thing with this one. Just try to stay away from the crank so you don't scratch anything, and be careful with the cylinder walls too. Well, that should be at the top there. Okay. Yeah, we're good. Cylinder wall is perfect. Yeah, we got piston number 1 out. Doesn't look too bad. Compression rings look really, really good. Even the oil rings look perfect. They even took the time to clock them right for the most part. Usually when you clock these, yeah, you got one there and then you put one over here, like right there. A lot of people think that these should be 120, 120. I think you can set them 120, 120 for performance applications. I usually just go by the book unless the manufacturer says otherwise. So I usually clock them in that general direction like that, A, B, and then the oil rings, I believe are 120 from each other, according to the book. But yeah, they look like they're good. The oil rings look like they still have their integrity. They're still springy. Seems to me that, like I said, because of the head gasket, that the marks on that cylinder wall got what are they called, the cross hatches got washed out, so it's not sealing properly. So I'm just gonna have to re-hone it, and then I have new rings, so I'm gonna re-ring it. I don't want to take the chance of even though these rings seem like they're okay, I don't want to take the chance of putting them back in and then I'm gonna go through this all over again. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put new rings in it, hone the cylinders, put new rings in it. I gotta go pick up a new head gasket from the store. I had to order it, so buddy hit me up earlier, he told me that it's in. Gotta go pick that up from him, and I gotta go to the shop to pick up a new pickup gasket, because that pickup gasket that they left in there, it was a paper one, and I gotta get a set of vice grips because I don't know where my vice grips are to pull that broken bolt out from there. So I'm gonna finish pulling these pistons out, and then I'll head out to do that, and then we can come back and put this thing back together and hope for the best. All right, we got all the pistons out. Everything looks good. The bearings actually look they look okay. That spot in the middle is normal. That's basically here and here, and the center is always where it's gonna make contact with the crankshaft. So you're always gonna get a little more heat right there, because as the piston peaks in revolution, that's where most of the friction is created. So here's the cylinders. I give them a quick wipe down with a paper towel. As you can see, super reflective. There's even some like brown spots. Like you see these brown spots right here? It's literally like glass. Guess that was too difficult for them boys to do. Gotta go get a new one. All right, so let me update you guys on what I've been doing, or on where I'm at right now, because typical story of my life, I'm in the middle of handling all this stuff, and a bunch of other crap pops up. So basically what I did was I went ahead and I honed the first cylinder. I checked the ring gap. Ring gap is close to the service limit with the new rings. It was past the technical limit on the old rings, but that's just what happens when you have these aftermarket rings, which I'm pretty sure is what was used the last time this thing was rebuilt. So real quick, let me just show you guys. We are dual overhead cam engines, cylinder bore, blah 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 blah. Dual overhead cam engines, ring groove clearance. Where do we have ring gap? So I got lost for a second because this thing right here says ring groove clearance, and then so you see it telling you the ring groove clearances, and then all of a sudden it starts again, top compression ring. But they didn't put piston ring gap there. But those are the clearances there. So top ring should be about 0.08 to 0.014. The service limit for both of them is 0.024. So where I'm at right now with that top compression ring, from what I measured, it's 0.02. I double checked the old ring that came out of there, the top compression ring, and the ring gap is at 0.017. So it's fair to say that this thing was probably serviced at one time before, or rebuilt, like I said, and with the hone it probably got honed out that much. But at 0.02 we're still within the service limit, so we should be okay. Plus, not to mention they're aftermarket rings, so they don't make them 100% perfect at these Chinese factories where they make these aftermarket rings. So it's just kind of what we got to deal with when you go cheap, you know. But that's why usually for performance build I like the Hastings. The Hastings usually come like end to end. They usually don't even have a gap, so you usually got to sit there and actually grind them to get the gap that you want based off the table that they give you and the calculations that you do based off their table. So we're within spec there. I'm gonna keep moving through the rest of these cylinders, and hopefully we can have this thing fully assembled and back on the ground and maybe ready to start. If not tonight, maybe tomorrow. So we'll see. The thing I need to talk about that I forgot to explain is the reason I got this borescope out. So I was checking the bore here in the cylinders, because you do have like an out of round spec. So when you look, let me see, it's somewhere around here. Cylinder head and valves, no. Torque, no. It should be in block, engine block. So you have your cylinder bore diameter, which your factory bore diameter is going to be about 3.189 to 3.19-ish, which means your pistons are usually a little smaller. They're like 3.188, around there. So you'll have a cylinder taper limit. So if you can imagine, the cylinder gets smaller as it goes down and bigger. That's your taper limit. So you usually want to measure up top and at the bottom, and see what your taper is. And then what I have had experience with in the past is the out of round limit. So the out of round limit is about 2 1,000s. Luckily with this motor, I'm not sure if I showed it, but here, I'll show you real quick. So what I did was I measured with those bore gauges over there, took the exact measurement of that, took that, measured it with this, then took this, zeroed it off of there, and then so when I go in here like this, I go down probably about 1/3 of the way, and then you'll notice as I go back and forth, it gets really close to zero there. That's just under 1 1,000th. So that's one way. Then what I like to do is I usually like to check in like across. So I'll check there, and then I'll come over here and check from front to back, and I'll do the same thing. So you see I'll move back right there. That's 1 1,000th. So suffice to say, it's pretty squared all the way around. Now you do have to do this for all the cylinders, but because this motor was rebuilt at one point, 9 times out of 10, once you check one and it's squared off like that, especially not having a deck plate torque to it, then you're pretty much going to be square all the way across. So I'm just going to go ahead and hone the rest of them. Not going to go anything too crazy, just like that, so I can get some nice clean cross hatches on it, and we should be good to go. All right, and there we go. We got us our fresh cross hatches. Gonna measure the rest of the cylinders, and then we can start gapping rings. All right, so just for the purpose of the documentation, 16, 17, 17, 18. So we are over the standard limit, but well under the service limit. And that is the top compression rings. Now, on to number 2. All right, and the second compression rings ended up being 25, 26, 25, 26. Service limit is 28 on those, so we're clear on those. Now let me check the O-rings, and then we can start assembling these pistons and getting them in this block. All right, and because there's 8 freaking oil control rings instead of 4, and also this is getting kind of tedious, I decided to just bring through them. Basically all of them were between like 0.018 and 0.22. Service limit on those is 0.28 also, so we're good across all 4 cylinders. So now I need to strip the old rings off these other ones. Those rings are going to go into the garbage. Then we're going to assemble the new rings onto the pistons, make sure the pistons are nice and clean, and then with the piston ring compressor we're going to go ahead and start dropping them into the cylinders. My goal is that by midnight tonight we can go ahead and put this thing, have this thing most of the way together, and then I will probably do the first startup tomorrow when I get home from work. But I just want to have this thing squared away and mostly done. That'll also give me a little extra time to test. I really don't think that anything else will go wrong after this, but we'll see. You never know. Can't rule anything out. That's just how life goes. So yeah, let me get moving, and I'll pick you guys up when these pistons are installed and I'm getting ready to assemble the bottom end. Alright, so it's officially the next day. I had to call out of work today because I was feeling like super sick. I don't know if it's because I've been doing so much work out in the cold. My body's just not used to it. Yeah, so pretty much the only thing that's left is just to connect a few things like throttle cable, plug in some sensors and stuff like that, minimal stuff. I put on all the belts and everything. I didn't put the timing cover because I want to keep it on the timing chain, on the timing belt while it runs. And sorry if I'm speaking kind of low, it's just I'm still like a little like weak and stuff. The only reason I got out of bed and I came out to like get this finished up is just because I really want to get this car situated and back to the client. And then on top of that, I gotta deal with that thing. That thing burst a heater hose, and it's a heater hose in the back, so it's like it connects to like a heater control valve and a bunch of other stuff. So it's like I have to take off the wipers again, the cowl, I have to take out the battery tray, the air box, all that stuff just to be able to access it. So I want to get this done and situated so I can bring that in place next. But I don't want to keep talking too much. I have a feeling this video is going to be really long, so I'm just going to start connecting stuff. I don't think I have to walk you guys through any of that stuff, because you've seen me do it countless times. So what we're going to do is just going to go ahead and get into it and crank this thing up. All right, I think everything's connected. I got that sheet on top because what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank over the engine so that any residuals or anything that's in the cylinders, like all the oil and stuff that I put in there, try to get most of it out. And then also I want to crank it over. That's why I don't have any of the injectors or anything connected. I want to crank it over just so we can get the oil pump and everything just flowing oil through the new bearing. Well, we didn't do new bearings, but just to kind of lubricate everything, because I put the bearings back in, and even though I put some oil and stuff on them, I just don't want them to start them dry. So I kind of want to run the engine, like I kind of just want to turn the engine for a little bit just to get the oil pressure flowing. Alright, so I literally just got home, and literally the first thing I did was I just ran inside, grabbed the keys to turn it on. Let's see how this thing behaves. My light's on right now. I don't really see any smoke or anything. I do still smell like burning oil, but for the most part it just looks clean to me. So we're gonna let it run for a little while. We're gonna let it get up to temperature, and once it gets up to temperature and stuff like that, we'll see how it acts. Alright, y'all, so I think we're good. I got my car backed up, idling. I got this one over here idling. I just took it for a drive, and I didn't really beat it, but I did drive it a bit aggressively. Sometimes that's what you got to do to get these rings to finish seating. If you can see, it's not really any smoke anymore. Earlier I did get a little bit more smoke, but I think it was just condensation. Plus, not to mention, there was like fluid sitting in the car, and so I was able to get it. Situated. Right now, I just got it idling, so just gonna leave it idling. Actually, I'm probably gonna shut it off here in a little bit because it's getting kind of late. And then tomorrow, when I get home from work, what I'm gonna do is I almost kind of want to drive it to work in a way. Like I kind of want to drive it to work just to see how it acts on the way to work. Be a good idea to take it, but no, I'll just drive it around here tomorrow because I work really far. But yeah, so. Idles at 1,000, oil lights flashing. This thing's gonna need an oil pump. So we're having an oil pressure issue. I just moved this over from my car, and that's what it started at, cold.